This summer, American cities erupted in violent riots following the death of George Floyd in the custody of Minneapolis police. That led to calls for police reform and even defunding the police. We sent Scott Thuman to Minneapolis to see who's in charge of law and order.
This is when chaos overcame order. On the night of May 28th, just after 10 p.m., police are ordered to abandon Minneapolis' 3rd police precinct. Shortly afterward, it is set ablaze. Just one incident out of hundreds over 4 nights, when the full-throated anger and frustration following the death of George Floyd turned into full-scale rioting. 2 months later, we've come to see how the people of Minneapolis and police are reacting. It is still very much a city on edge. Every weekend since May, Dustin Sanchez and his neighbors have blockaded their uptown neighborhood after sunset, shutting down and patrolling their own streets, communicating on walkie-talkies, sometimes armed, because those are the most dangerous hours. It is a risky routine. In late June, a shootout erupted around them. 11 people were hurt with close calls for his crew.
It happened about 12:30, and you just hear a pop, 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 and then pop, 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 pop.
Bullets are whizzing by you.
Yeah, they hit some windows there. They hit the movie theater. They hit the shoe store.
You've never seen anything like this here?
No, never.
A few miles away, across town, more barricades put up. Abdi Hassan and his neighbors are on watch and ready for anything.
270 sniper rifle.
So you went and bought a shotgun?
Yes.
Abdi came from war-torn Somalia, where he'd seen warlords reign with violence. Here in Minneapolis, he has now seen his wife and children confronted at gunpoint. They pointed the gun at your kid.
By the time I was coming down the stairs with the shotgun, I heard a shot. So now I'm thinking, who got hurt? Is it my wife? Is it my kids? So by the time I came out of the door, the guy who shot the bullet went into my wife's car and tried to take her keys. And she got hold of his gun, his hand, and she was going like this, and he let it go.
It is not that police aren't around, they're just stretched thin. In the 2 months since Floyd's death, Minneapolis saw a 20% rise in violent crimes. There were twice as many murders in June as the year before. Businesses faced with riots and the risk of being looted or burned to the ground turned to hiring military contractors to defend their properties when the police couldn't. Stephen Hernandez, a U.S. Army veteran who served a tour in Iraq, who now runs his own international security firm, was paid to put those skills to use protecting a grocery store.
People don't understand what it's like to live in a world of chaos here in the U.S. You know, some of us understand it because we've worked overseas.
What does that say about the situation if people like you are being called in to help?
It's a serious situation when, you know, too many people are concerned about leaving their homes. When people are coming out and thanking guys that are on the ground because they don't know who to call. They don't know who to call if they feel unsafe. They're afraid to call the police. Uncertainty drives chaos. So being able to deliver a little bit of certainty to the world is what we look to do.
Male came in at 2214 stating he was shot.
It's needed. We followed the Minneapolis police one night. Calls on the scanner were constant, from shootings to a fatal stabbing and emergency medical teams scrambling, unwilling to respond at times until police secured the scene. The street leading to the scene of George Floyd's death is not just a memorial. According to gang members we spoke to, it's their territory now. Artist and community organizer Ephraim Cruz Eusebio lives and works nearby.
I feel like we're living in a different world now, a different country. People like me, I'm 50 years old, I've never considered owning a firearm before, but now I'm gonna take a class.
If need be, he will take up arms, but reluctantly, until others make change.
If we could change the conversation to demilitarization, I think that's very important. It's too ingrained in our communal psyche to see a cop showing up armed, body armor, police car, lights flashing. Like, that's got to be defunded.
But not disbanded, some argue, as that would only make matters worse.
For the first time in my history of working in this community and living in this community, I am afraid. I am afraid.
Kathy Spann leads a community council in North Minneapolis and agrees there needs to be massive reforms, but she is not okay with getting rid of the police, as some suggest.
Our city council is talking about defunding and dismantling the police department, the only entity that I know right now that can keep me safe. You are not going to leave me unprotected in my house. And you gonna tell me that you're gonna disband the Minneapolis Police Department and without a plan of action that says that this is what the alternative is?
In Minneapolis, the question of what the new law and order will be is a frightening prospect.
Now, in Minneapolis, the last rioting was just 3 weeks ago, so now business owners want local laws changed so that they can put more permanent barriers in place to protect themselves.
Do you know if in these other troubled cities are there citizen patrols taking to the streets?
Well, we checked with our colleagues in Portland and Seattle, which have seen unrest. They are not seeing the same amount of street patrolling by residents.
Very interesting. Thanks a lot, Scott.